Start the YouTube video now, Chro. Thank you. So here we go. Overwatch experimental patch notes. ML7 did support heroes. Lemon QE did tank heroes. Jake and One had splitted the damage heroes between basically off meta and meta, or projectile and hit scan. So, first thing first, general update. Hit scan fall off range increased to 50% from 30%. Already a bad move. There's now a 75% speed movement speed cap for all allies. So only have like Lucio, but several other heroes have now increased ally movement speed. So, yeah, okay. So there's a max movement speed for all these heroes now. So let's see what Lemon Kiwi did. Now I did watch her video, and to put it just very short, she took the tank heroes and made them more MOBA, is what she did. You're going to see the general theme is everything does less damage, but they have more health and armor. So, all tank weapon ability and ultimate damage is reduced by 50%. Crowd control durations applied to tank are reduced by 50% as well. Stuns, sleeps, knockdowns, knockbacks, slow, yada yada yada. The following crowd controls give full duration: May Blizzard, Reinhardt Shatter, Zarya, Grav Surge, Power Rage. So ultimates. I will say this: I have not been able to play the patch yet because tonight the patch was disabled because tanks did so little damage it wasn't fun and good. If you've been around and you heard my talk about tanks before, I specifically cover that this will never work. Lemon Kiwi did a good job explaining why she did it. She's like, I just want to slow the game down. I want tanks to have more health, live a lot longer, and provide more space for the team. She wanted to bring it towards more of a traditional tank concept. Again, I said this will not work because you cannot give tanks low damage, because then they're not a threat and no one gives two fucks about them. Because we're playing an FPS, you don't want to get a bunch of stuns and slows, which is what they do in MOBAs. While they have low damage, they constantly slow and stun, so you have to target them. But they have a high hit point pool, so you don't want to target them because it's really inefficient. This is how tanks do things. Tanks create space by having a threat. Whatever that threat may be. A stun, a slow, like hog, damage. There's different ways you can generate threats, but they always provide a threat. If you take damage away, and you can't do slows or stuns, what do? Nothing. They just get ignored. And that's what happened in today's patch. So, called it, but we're still going to go over it. So, armor increased from 200 to 400, so extra 200 armor. Fire Strike now receives 50% less healing, or targets hit by Fire Strike now receive 50% less healing for 4 seconds. This, in this entire patch, is the correct thing. This is it. So, after I go through this, I'm going to go through my patch notes. And this is a main thing that we're going to focus on. So this is a great idea. Charge can now pin multiple targets. Movement speed increased by 40% for the first 2 seconds. So she can get, bam, you're Reinhardt, you're really quick. And can be canceled. Sure. Whatever, these aren't bad changes, except for the armor and the damage nerf. Orisa gets 250 more armor. Fortify now grants 40% increase in movement speed. Allies within 8 meters have 20% increased movement speed and 20% damage reduction. Halt no longer fires a projectile. Now halt tendril to the nearest enemy target within 5 meters and tethers them to a reset for 1.5 seconds. It's not a bad idea. But again, this amount of control as FPS gamers, we don't want. This is definitely like a MOBA type idea. Supercharger no longer grants allies a damage buff, now slows all enemies within 10 meters by 40%. So again, it's utility, it's like, it's a debuff, it's control. I'm going to keep on repeating this, guys. Good for MOBA, bad for FPS. Fortify is absolutely insane. The fact that the shield wasn't touched, and now she's 50% less damage, 40% increased movement speed, everyone's moving fast with her. I don't know, like, it seems like she meant these changes to be serious. Like, she put time and effort into them, and this was meant to be a serious patch. It wasn't like goofy fucking around, but this is pretty redonkulous. But we continue. Zarya loses her shield, but she gains, what is this? 100 health? Oh, no, she gained 300 armor. So, no more shield. Provides a barrier. Barriers provide 50% movement speed. Based on the current energy, 0.5% movement speed per 1 energy. Okay, so movement speed based on charge. It's a cool idea, but again, with half damage, there's no point. Armor increased from... Okay, so he got 200 armor, shield health removed. He only shoots one shot now. But it's a lot shorter of a cooldown. Actually, it's much shorter of a cooldown. Now receives an additional charge on a successful hit. Spending additional charges put this ability on cooldown. Again, all this does is there's more stuns now. Great for MOBA, bad for FPS. Like, no one wants to get hit by 2 fucking rocks in a row. It doesn't matter if you're like, it took skill. It doesn't matter. No one wants to be disabled for 2 seconds. Kinetic Grasp now is immune to crowd control when Kinetic Grasp is active. Which is really weird because that's supposed to be the weakness of it. Is that there are specific abilities like Hog's Hook and other things that can deal with this. Cooldown barrier minimum down to 0.1 seconds. So we can just spam shield again. Again, it just makes... There's no punishment, which is kind of lame. Wrecking Ball no longer detaches after 6 seconds. Can no longer reach maximum speed after the 6 seconds. So basically, he can grapple forever now, but he just doesn't get the speed bonus and all that other stuff. Minefield now blinds enemies for 2.5 seconds when damaging enemies. When blinded, the player is unable to see anything except their HUD. I don't mind... So, games these days, FPS games, especially Valorant and CSGO and all that other stuff, like, flashbangs are really common. I'm not a huge fan of flashbangs. Like, it should last for microseconds. I'm not a big fan of them, but it's a thing you can do. Pile Drive now reduces the cooldown of Adaptive Shield by 1 second for each enemy hit. Fucking Overwatch. Those Overwatch noises. Okay, there we go. Sorry. So Pile Driver can be... he can keep on getting adaptive shields, but again, the whole problem is like, without any damage, there's nothing to follow up on. Tanks just feel like I do stuff, and that's it. I hope my team is there for me. The overall issue, again, she wanted there to be more teamwork, I get that, but there's a difference between teamwork and team dependency. This is more about team dependency. Like, tanks can't do shit unless someone is helping them, and that doesn't feel good. Roadhog, health decreased to 300, armor increased to 300. Chain Hook is now faster, take a breather, flat, heals 100 plus 100 health per nearby ally. So this really shuts down Flanking Hog. It really wants him to be next to people, and I don't like this type of change. I don't like it when a hero has, I can be a hero that can do multiple things, and people are like, no, multiple things are bad. Do one thing. You stay with your team. This should be the Civil War in Overwatch. It should be everyone lines up here, and everyone else lines up here, and you just hit each other, and that's it. No other tactics allowed. And you're like, no, fuck that. Like, you should be able to do anything. So, not a fan of that change. Whole Hog, no longer knockbacks. Now cancelable. Quality of life stuff, I would say the knockback is a huge nerf, because that's actually a big part of it. Diva. Passive holding the jump key makes the mech fall slowly, like Mercy. Sure, that's cool. This got... I don't know what they're going to change it to, but this was definitely changed, because she got nerfed. Or the 50% damage thing changed. Defense Matrix now grants ultimate charge for blocking enemy projectiles. That's fine. I don't mind that. That's a little reward. This one scares the shit out of me. I guess she doesn't do any damage, but Booster's on a 2-second cooldown. With 2-second, like, Matrix, holy fuck, you're never gonna kill her. You really gotta lock her down. It's pretty goddamn crazy. Winston gets 150 hit points. Now slightly launches nearby enemies into the air upon landing. I'm pretty sure it does that already. I'm almost 100% sure landing near someone will knock them into the air. Actually, that's a 75% damage reduction because they added that on top of the 50% damage global nerf. Oh, so she got... Okay. Diva got put in fucking nerf jail. Well, good. Fuck her. No, that's... If Diva doesn't have 75% of her damage on her primaries, yes, that's... The hero can't do it. Primal Rage... Health granted from 1,000 to 1,700. Health decays 75 per second to a minimum of 350 health. Holding primary fire now charges up a punch, which can increase the knockback by 100%. I like this. The cool, like, instead of just holding down the button and smacking everyone as fast as you can, maybe you can just get a good whack off. That's great. I think that's neat. Not a bad change. But, again, overall, tanks have become team dependent, and Overwatch is already dependent on each other enough. So, she put a lot of thought and time into this, and she stayed true to what she wanted. And I think they're all good changes, mostly for what she wanted. But I don't think that direction, the MOBA direction, is correct. So now we're going to look at damage. Okay, so it looks like it's Jake's changes first, and I'll just say Jake's changes seem to be the best changes, and it's because he didn't really fuck with too much. He just made everyone more mobile. That's it. Didn't really mess with numbers. He just made everyone more mobile. So let's take a look at this. Swift Strike has 2 charges, damage reduced down to 30. Basically, any kind of kill, or anytime you would get one, like whenever you would recharge it before, you just get 1 back instead of 2 charges. And then Dragon Blade, he has duration reduced from 6 to 3 seconds. After Dragon Blade ends, Genji gains 40% attack speed for 6 seconds. So this was really to smack down the whole Blade bot stuff, and it definitely did, because Dragon Blade only lasts for 3 seconds now. Which is cool, but it makes him go back to his faster attack, which I'm just going to say Genji's right click is a bit bonkers. It already is a bit bonkers right now. I think it's one of the most damaging attacks in the game. Because what it crits for like something like 168, I forget what it is. It's a lot, and I know it's difficult to do, but I still at the same time think his cooldown's like 0.6 seconds for the right click. It's pretty crazy. But I get it. His ultimate now just kind of helps his primary, which I'm cool with. I would rather have this just get rid of Dragon Blade and make it like an alt where he did with Hanzo, where it just buffs all his other abilities. But that's fine. I think these changes are okay. Doomfist, Seismic Slam can be cancelled now, and he gets a passive where if he does a basic ability that does no damage to enemies, all other abilities cooldown is reduced by 1 second. So basically it just kind of helps Doom from getting from spawn, or if he messes up, it just allows him to do more abilities more quickly. If no one's hit, which is fine. I think that's not too bad. For some reason he buffed Echo. Echo heals for 30% of the current missing health when she gets a final blow. She didn't fucking need this. It generates ultimate charge. It also affects her duplicate copy. Also, her glide speed's increased by 15%. Echo is fucking already insane. She's now more insane. These things are like reasonable, but this one is batshit insane. May, actually, I like these changes. Fully frozen targets take 100% increase quick melee damage from all sources. I don't know if this counts Reinhardt, because Reinhardt doesn't have a quick melee. Neither does Brig. They just have their attack. So, like a frozen target when getting hit by Reinhardt, like all of a sudden he's doing 150 damage. That's somewhat significant. I guess May could follow up with like a melee right before it ends, so for her to get a little bit of extra damage off. That's not terrible. But I guess I already went in Overwatch 2 mode. In Overwatch 1, yes, people are being frozen a lot more often, so we'll see. But I think the changes to the abilities are the good ones. These could definitely go live. Cryo Freeze increased by 50%. This is just for her to block hallways and block things to make it more versatile. And Ice Wall now launches heroes up in the air when built underneath them, so they can get to reach to higher places, which is cool because then Mei gets a little bit of cool utility. I like that. Pharah, rockets impact now apply a 25% movement reduction for a half a second. Rocket knockback increased by 100%. I haven't felt this, but I'm assuming it's pretty massive. I get that you want to reward direct rocket shots. This is quite strong. Concussive Blast now has 2 ability charges, but you cannot be affected by the same concussive blast, or you can't be affected by concussive blast in quick succession. So 1.5 second delay. These changes they're cool for the patch. They shouldn't go to live. I'll say that. Junkrat, no more footstep sound, and he can jump when detaching from walls. So Tyre can do a little bit of a blip stuff now. Everyone is so afraid to touch Junkrat, and this is proof. These changes are just like, just give him this stuff. And I get the audio no footsteps because the way to play him at higher rank is an assassin. He just has to burst people down, and that's it. That's the only thing you can do. So it really helps him. But, Riptire getting movement speed from detaching from walls, I think that's good. Riptire does suck. It's one of the worst ultimates in the game. But none of this really helps Junkrat. Sombra, weapon spread reduced by 20%. Shots per second increase from 20 to 24. So what is that? Is that another 20% increase? Yeah. So not only does she get weapon spread reduced, but also DPS increase. This right here is pretty insane. Hack cooldown, nerfed more, half reduction or duration reduced. Just makes hack less as good. Stealth now has 8-second maximum duration. No longer plays an audio cue if the ability reaches its full duration. So this is a neat idea. I'm on board for not having invisible being permanent. I like forcing people to do something. If there's anything I hated from TF2, it's when the spy got the ability to not move and stay invisible. The game's you're supposed to fucking do something, so start doing something. And now it's like, hey, if you time your things right, then you get a little bonus. Isn't that neat? And I do think it's neat. Do I think it goes to live? No. Maybe the hack changes go to live, but this does not, and this does not. Not bad ideas, though. Bastion, make his model size smaller. I get that. Ammo increased from 35 to 100. Weapon spread reduced by 20%. So he's... Because his fall off, and I would need to look at this, I'm pretty sure he has quicker fall off than Soldier. So he's just a soldier that can lay down weaker shots for a longer period of time. It's not clear in the patch, but Bastion lost his turret mode here. Is that what happened? Oh. Oh, then Bastion doesn't exist then. There's no reason to play him. There's no reason to play him. Dragon Strike now spawns immediately if it hits a terrain. This was a Overwatch, early Overwatch thing that happened. It's not the biggest deal, but it definitely does get some kills. I'll just say I am biased against Ultimate, so I just want them to be shitty. So I played like this for years, so it's not a big deal. But at the same time, I just don't want to buff alts. They're already good enough as it is. Storm Arrow no longer fires 5 arrows. It now grants a 6-second buff with the following effects. Lunge cooldown reduced from 4 to 1 second. Penalty movement removed for Stormbow. And draw time increased by like almost 50%. Something like 30, 35 to 40%. So Storm Arrow's gone, but now it just makes him a better, all of his other abilities better. Which I'm fine with, actually. Yeah, Stormbow is a bunch of bullshit. So I'm cool with this. Torb, dealing damage with the primary fire adds a stacking buff that increases its damage by 5. Each buff lasts 5 seconds. So he can keep on shooting something, and as long as he's shooting the same thing, it keeps on getting 5 more damage every single time. So, while this isn't that important on heroes, what it is important for is shields. Little been known to anyone, Torb's overall damage from his rivet gun is actually pretty low. It's a little bit lower than everyone else. I think it's something like 100 or something. Maybe 105, maybe 110 at max. What people don't understand is Torb's Sentry deals 52 or 54 damage a shot. And when you add his 100 damage together with his 50 damage together, he does 150 DPS against whatever he's shooting at, which is very high. 150 DPS is more than I think any other DPS hero besides Reaper and Bastion. So, with this stacking on top, I think he's at like 0.5 attack speed, let's just say, with Overload. So he can easily add 15, 20, 25 more damage per shot at the end of that, by the end of the 5 seconds. Overall, I think it would probably add another 50 to 100 damage, which adds up against the shield when you're already doing 150. So he'd probably be going up to 200 damage a second, which is quite good against shields. Obviously, if you had a target over and over, they would just die very quickly. It's not a bad change, but it is. At this point, I believe Wanted's chains come in. Wanted did all the hit scan changes, and I kind of reviewed all of them earlier, but we'll go over them. A lot of them seem to be nerfs more than anything. Do remember that the minimum damage is 50% for hit scan. So Viper no longer reloads ammo individually. It now reloads all ammo in 2.25 seconds. First of all, this is a major quote-unquote buff for Ashe, because now, instead of, I think it was like 3.5 seconds it took to reload everything, now everything reloads a second quicker. That's pretty insane. But she can no longer reload once or twice or even 3 bullets and then start shooting again to save her Ashe. She actually has to stop, reload all at once, and then get it done. I agreed. Ashe, one of her weaknesses should be reloading, but she has so much ammo that it doesn't matter. She can kill an entire team before she has to reload. So if anything, what they should have done is they should have lowered her ammo count and then had this change. And then I think it would have been fine. Coach gun increased by 3 seconds, sure. Dynamite no longer deals self-damage, no longer has damage fall off. So the explosion does 20 to 50 damage, and then there's 100 damage burn. So what this says is it's always 50 damage. It's okay. McCree health reduced from 225 to 200. Weapon speed 0.5 to 0.42. So this is insane. Secondary fire removed. He just lost an ability. Combat roll increased by 2 seconds. It can no longer be used in the air. Visual effect removed around him. So basically, he's just a gun, and he's a very fast, very strong gun. He still has stun though, which was his biggest issue. Reaper, he seems crazy. Shadow Step cooldown decreased from 5 to 10 to 5 seconds. Can now be used during Wraith Form. Wraith Form cooldown reduced from 8 to 4 seconds. No longer reloads your weapon. No longer applies a movement speed buff. Reaper's gonna be in material form half the time. I get no longer reload your weapon, do these other things. That's cool, but yes, Luca, he is invincible every 4 seconds about. Yes, it's pretty crazy. I mean, it's interesting, but it's pretty crazy. Soldier, reduced visual effects around Soldier 76. No self-damage on Helix Rocket. Cooldown increased from 6 to 8. Cooldown 6 to 8 should go live. It should deal self-damage, though. Nothing really interesting to say about this. Grappling Hook, cooldown increased by 3 seconds. Can now place 3 mines. Cooldown reduced 15 to 10. Damage reduced from 15 to 10. Duration 5 to 3. Projectile speed increased. So just Widow can be more self-aware. That's about it, but she's still bonkers. Tracer, he actually reduced her ultimate cost by 50%, but the damage is down to 190. No longer deals self-damage. So Tracer can no longer one-shot people with this pulse bomb, but she's going to get it a lot more often. It's a good direction for Tracer's ult, but Tracer needs to get nerfed overall. So that was that. I mean, the hit scan stuff is kind of lame. They're just changes. There's no rhyme or reason or real good direction on it. It doesn't change the heroes too much. Like, making Cassidy not have a stun would be something, but now it's just like Machine Gun McCree. It just doesn't change much. All these heroes, if you just watched a game, maybe you'd notice Tracer's pulse bombs coming up earlier, but other than that, you probably wouldn't notice any of these things. So now we go to ML7's support. Let's just go over it. Bionic Rifle reload time cut in half. This is the single most broken change in the entire patch log. Ana has an insane rate of healing, and the one thing that keeps her in check is the fact that she has to reload to not heal. This is insane. Sleep targets will now appear in kill feed. Allies can now slept enemies. Turrets can now be slept. Sleep can now stop Diva's mech from flying during self-destruct. Sleep is already good enough. I don't mind, I don't want it to be in the kill feed, but I think allies should be able to see a slept enemy. Sure, I don't mind it can sleep mechanical stuff. Why not? Nano Boost now, instead of granting healing received to the target, it now causes the target to also heal for 50 more damage. It reads weird, but instead of getting that bonus health, they just get healed more. Casting time reduced from 0.15 to 0.05, so it's quite near instant. Final blows dealt by allies affected by Nano Boost now decrease Ana's current cooldowns by 1 second. He's known to be an Ana player, and it's definitely showing a bit. Overall, not really big changes, though. I mean, outside the reload time, right, she's still functioning mostly like she does. Baptiste, his boots jump 50% higher, but it takes twice as long to charge. Immortality field duration significantly reduced. Cooldown decreased by 2 seconds for whatever fucking reason. I think just to match this. Now prevents allies from dropping below 20% of the maximum health, up from 10%. Which is, it is what it is. Because I don't want to call it a buff or a nerf, but at 10%, Baptiste, when using regen, holy shit, he would gain a lot of alt charge. So, I'll just say it is what it is. Ant Matrix can now heal himself when it's active, and its duration is lowered by 8 seconds. Weird. I actually need to see Brig in action because I don't 100% fully get it. Inspire, I get this one, stops when she dies. Shield Bash, it takes you 50% farther, now retains more velocity when colliding with terrain, so I think she can do little trick jumps. But Whip Shot, when Rally is active, Whip Shot functionally changes to the following. Damage and knockbacks all enemies within a 7-meter radius. Restricts Brig's movement to 0.75 seconds. Increases the cooldown by the remaining duration of rally plus 4 seconds. She does a whirlwind. Okay. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm fucking talking about for a change. This is this type of stuff I want, because this greatly changes her. I would have to see it in action, but it sounds cool. People in chat saying it's powerful but doesn't feel too OP, so that's good. Sounds fun to be, at least yes it does. Lucio, this is lame. While riding, his damage is increased. Also, while sound barrier, enemies in the area that are affected are knocked back 6 meters. Like, okay, cool. I do not agree with any of this stuff, but Valkyrie is no longer an ultimate ability. It's now an ability 2. Healing is increased to 70 a second. Just the normal shit. Except the beam doesn't jump from ally to ally. Duration reduced down to 3 seconds. Cooldown is now 20 seconds. So every 20 seconds, you can do extra healing for 3 seconds and have flying. She's a little bit slower while flying, but I don't like it. Resurrect is now an ultimate ability. It's old res. Fuck me, no. I'll just say that. Moira, new passive, quick melee now slows enemies for 30 seconds. Or for 30% for 1 second. The effect has a 10-second cooldown per enemy. Sure. Sure. I really don't know the functionality of this. If it's a flanker, you're looking to melee and slow them down so your enemies can help you. Flankers don't get that close. If you're doing this to slow someone down so you can hit them easier, Moira isn't exactly, she's not the hardest to hit. I don't get that one, but sure. Maximum resource increased by 12%, sure. Bionic Orb no longer changes speed when near a valid target. Orb now moves at a constant 5.5 meters, but after activating it, holding down the secondary primary for 1 second will cause you to fire faster orb that moves at a constant 20 meters per second. So essentially, you can control how fast it is, which is a neat idea, but I don't think it adds that much. Coalescence. Now, this one I did see, and it was kind of funny. Channeling on an enemy target continuously for 2 seconds will now lift them off the ground for 3 seconds. This can happen once per enemy. I saw Hog whole hogging, and he was trying to encroach on a Moira. Moira ulted him, and then he just started floating away. I don't get why to do it. I mean, it's kind of funny. That's about it. I don't get, like, it's just something wacky it does. It's hard for me to be like, oh yes, this sets up her other abilities. Oh yes, this does X, this does Y, but this really, like, it's just a debuff. Zenyatta can now jump higher if he holds the jump button. I think this was a thing before. He could float for a little bit. His ammo's increased by up to 25. Orb of Harmony. This is neat. If attached to an ally for 2 seconds, tanks get 20% damage reduction. Damage gets 10% movement speed increase. Support receive increased healing from 30 to 40 per second. Also, Orb of Discord nerfed down to 20%. I think it's neat because then you're rewarded for keeping an orb on a single target instead of just constantly swapping it. I think these are good changes. The jump is like, whatever, that's cool. I think Zen does enough damage. I don't think he needs more ammo to his clip size. But I'm on board with the Orb of Harmony changes and the Orb of Discord change. Now, Symmetra. Move the damage from damage to support roll. Now sees ally health bars like default, like other support heroes. Yep, that's cool. Primary fire nerfed, obviously. Secondary damage nerfed. Secondary damage deals 50% increased damage to non-heroes like turrets and barriers. Ammo increased 80. So obviously she's a support hero, so she's just going to do less damage. Sentry turret. Health increased from 30 to 50, no longer deals damage, now heals allies. Heals 20 health per second per turret. Maximum range increased from 10 to 12, building time reduced to 0.5, cooldown reduction to 8, no longer slows target movement speed. So, I guess I don't get... So, I guess it only targets allies. It doesn't target enemies. These turrets have an issue where they don't stop blocking if allies have full health. Yeah, I'm just going to treat it not like that. I'll say that's a bug. It's not a bad idea. She can have 4 sentries out right at a time, which would be 80 healing per second, which is high for support, but they're easily killable. She can't target it, and they have low range, and she can't reset them up easier. 3 sentries, so at 60 HP a second. Man. So, let me just talk about passive healing. Or AoE. I would consider this AoE healing, even though it's not AoE. The concept of AoE healing in Overwatch, for Lucio and Brig, is for people that don't want to play supports. They want to do something fucking fun. So what you do is you have this passive healing around you, so you don't have to worry about it. You just play the game, and people will naturally get healed as you deal damage and do things you want to do. So that's why AoE healing is lower, and affects more people, because that's just how you're going to have to balance it when you want to have heroes that can support heroes that focus on combat. So this would fall into that. At that point, 60 health a second isn't that high. And I know people are like, well, Lucio and Brig, they don't heal that much. I think they're both like in the 14 to 16 healing per second for their AoE heal. But Lucio has, boost, and Brig has armor packs. So they can each burst heal. The problem with Sim is that she can't say who she wants to heal. That's the biggest one. Oh, your tank's healing? Oh, let me throw down 3 turrets. Oh god, I hope they target you. Oh, putting down 3 turrets takes a second and a half. Tank's already fucking dead. Basically, adds healing zone to areas, but any turret on the flank means your DPS win every 1-on-1. Yeah, I guess you would win on the flanks conceptually, but the problem is in Overwatch, no one plays on the flanks. Like, if we were playing serious, you'd take 6 heroes and you'd jump down the choke, kill them. That's it. No flanking. You put someone on the flank, sweet. I got a 6v5 now. I'm just going to swamp your team. That's literally what happens in Overwatch League. If someone is flanking, well, sweet. I'll send my off tank once they go past the turret. So it's a weird thing. I get that. Like, oh, I can spread out my healing. That's cool. But now you can't heal anyone. The other things that changed: teleporter increased, cooldown increased. Allies that take teleporter receive a 40% movement speed increase for 2 seconds. 10-second cooldown. That's cool. Photon barrier, health reduced dramatically, duration reduced by 20%, ultimate cross reduced by 9%. I think Sim should. I'll get into what I think about Sim in a minute. Also, it's not like the turrets can defend themselves like this. Yes. As soon as they show that they're healing an ally, they're going to get destroyed. It's her inability to target heal. That's what really worries me. If her secondary turned into something that could heal, we would have something to talk about. But yeah, so this is the experimental patch. I'll say Jake's changes are great. Most of them. I think he had the right idea because he's like, He didn't want to fuck with numbers too much and DPS, so he's just like, let me just make heroes more fun by giving them more mobility and more versatility. Great. They're very simple changes. They do some cool things. Some should be put into live. Most shouldn't be, but that's fine. But I think like it's a solid patch note. The tanks in this patch are so dependent on their team that it breaks the entire game. It's just not fun. And if they get more damage, like what they said they're going to buff them, then what? Then it's just a fucking 800 hit point Rhine that's going to kill you in 3 hits anyways. Like, it's not good. Tanks work well adhering to the concept they wanted, but not a good fit for Overwatch. So, encouraging teamwork is fine, but team dependency is something completely different. It means a tank can't do shit unless someone's there. In fact, no one can do shit unless someone else is there, which no one wants. Guys, this is an FPS. We want to be able to carry ourselves. Everything should be able to be big impact. It's the tank changes just won't work. I appreciate the fact that it seemed like she put her heart and soul into it. It seemed like she stayed on target with what she thought. She's like, this is how I want the game to be, and this is what I'm going to do. With what she wanted the game to be, I will say it lined up pretty well. There are some things that I would still change for her idea, but it doesn't work in Overwatch. The support changes, some of them are decent, some of them are ridiculous. Yeah. I think the hit scan changes are the lamest. They just modified some numbers. And I'm not, like, hating on Wanted or anything. I'm sure he's a good guy, and this is a lot to take in and do. And some people that don't understand balance, they're just kind of throwing something out there. And now, here comes the second part. Alright? This is what I tweeted about. Everyone's going to say right now, Chro, you're so fucking smart. What would you do? Huh? You think you could do these notes better than everyone? Yes. Yes, I do.